I'll now hand the mic over to Jennifer Daly-Cyr to kick off our first session of the day. Over to you, Jennifer.
Thank you so much, Chris. So my name is Jennifer Daly-Cyr, and I too am one of the steering committee members for the PTPT conference. It's an incredible joy to be here on day 3 of our second annual conference. It's quite a moment, and we have an incredible panel for you today at this session. And I too am a person of living with pain, as all of our steering committee members are. So we bring that perspective to this table today, and we appreciate everyone's thoughts on that. As the moderator for the session, I am delighted to welcome you to this Pain Care Across the Ages Spectrum session today. The panelists will share their perspective on chronic pain and how it affects people across a lifespan, highlighting needs, challenges, and adaptive methods of managing pain and navigating access to healthcare systems and support mechanisms. Just as a reminder, and I know that Chris mentioned it, but a reminder that the recorded session has closed captions. And so that means we have simultaneous French audio translation as well. And to access this, please just follow the Zoom link in the session description to obtain that. We will plan on some time for each of the speakers, or for the Q&A session rather, following the entire panel talk today. And we'll do our level best to answer all of your questions, as many as possible within the time that's allotted for today. So it is now my incredible pleasure to introduce to you each of our speakers today. They each bring a rich and diverse background, which they will share as they choose with you today. The presentations will be 7 minutes in duration, starting with Alvin, and each presenter will pass one to the next. And I'll explain in a moment how we'll roll that out. So let me just begin by introducing Alvin Kachum. She has lived with chronic pain as a young adult and has an interest in sharing her lived experience. She's a volunteer with the Power Over Pain Network and is starting a new role as a co-facilitator with People in Pain Network. Amanda Doherty Kirby is a caregiver and patient public partner who lives in Prince Edward Island with her partner and her 6 school-aged and university-aged children, with all but one living with long-term episodic or chronic pain. Christine McIntosh has lived with pain for a number of years due to injuries to her shoulder and lower back. She has facilitated Pain BC program Making Sense of Pain. Captain Michael Harris lives and copes with rheumatoid arthritis and has learned how to manage his pain, and he's also engaged to Christine. And in this case, what we will do is Alvin will be our first presenter, followed by Amanda, and then Christine and Michael will present together. So please, over to you, Alvin.
Thank you so much, Jennifer. Hello, everybody. My name is Alvin Kamshum. I am in my early 30s, and I live with persistent pain for almost 4 years: fibromyalgia, trigeminal neuralgia, migraines, and just to name a few. I am a member of the Lived Experience Advisory Committee with the Power Over Pain portal and a co-facilitator with People in Pain Network. I would like to acknowledge that I live in Edmonton, Alberta, located within Treaty 6 territory and within the Métis homeland and Métis nations of Alberta Region 4. We acknowledge that this is a traditional territory of many First Nations, such as the Cree, the Dene, the Stoney, the Saulteaux, and the Blackfoot. Now, as a child, I used to think certain medical conditions were only reserved to older people. Yes, I was that naive. I remember in 2002, when I first told my father my eyes hurt, his response to me was, "You are too young to have eye problems." So when my pain all started in January of 2020, that was the same attitude I had. I am too young for this. I struggled so much with accepting that this could be real and long-term. And as a young person, you have your life ahead of you. You have a job, you have your plans, your dreams, your aspirations. You work to take care of yourself and, of course, support family back home. And waking up one morning and being unable to do the things you are so used to doing, feel like you are not worth it, feel like you have no purpose because you are so limited in your abilities, that really affected me. And I remember sometimes people telling you, oh, you're too young to be dealing with this, you're too young not to have a job, and maybe you just enjoy sitting at home and taking free money from the government. That was not the case. I was suffering. And because of all this, we all know pain can impact our lives like real bad, from my emotions to grief, to fear, to cognition, social isolation, even my spirituality. And of course, navigating the healthcare system did not make things any easier. I can go on and on talking about these challenges, but for today, I decided to talk a little bit more positive. And the very first step I had to take was acceptance. Acceptance can mean anything to different people. And to me, acceptance simply means not always grieving over who I used to be, accepting that this is my new reality, but not necessarily my full identity. And because I have accepted that this is a new reality, I had to find ways to adapt. And some of my coping strategies I would like to share. The very first thing was a peer support group. And I cannot emphasize enough on how important being a part of a pain community is. I started off with different support groups, and I would like to talk about People in Pain Network in particular. And they do also have the People in Pain Young Adult if you're between 18 and 35. I learned a lot from being a part of a peer support group. Honestly, I would recommend that to every person who lives with pain, because knowing that you are not alone helps you better accept what you are dealing with. And I learned a lot from the support groups, from my peers, from the guest speakers we've had, and thanks to the support groups, I also got to know about the Power Over Pain portal, which has a portal for adults as well as youth. And best believe their resources are free. I enjoy attending their webinars. I have learned so much, and I continue to learn so much from attending the webinars, as well as Pain BC. They also offer free webinars, and knowledge is power. I also had to seek help from a psychologist to help me walk through my emotions, and as well as a social worker to help me navigate the benefits that are available out there for people in certain situations. Thanks to these resources and the coping mechanisms, I have learned, and I am learning, and I am growing so much. And today I feel more empowered as someone who lives with persistent pain. Today I look at myself and I'm like, girl, you have a purpose. You have a bright future. Tomorrow is even better than yesterday was. And I am learning and growing, and you will never know how resilient you are until you have to deal with certain things. And today I look at myself and I'm like, girl, you are so resilient. And of course, creating new and meaningful connections, beautiful. A lot has come out from there. I remember in October, I was completing certain courses, and I came across something I would like to share. And it says, illness can be an opportunity for personal growth by helping people to reevaluate what is important, shift priorities, and move their lives in directions they may not have previously considered. How beautiful. And it tells us one thing we should always bear in mind. Instead of focusing on how to get rid of our pain, we should rather focus on managing our symptoms and learning to live well despite pain. So if you are a young adult or a youth, a young person who deals with persistent pain, just like myself, and people tell you you're a failure, you don't have a life, you don't have a dream, you don't have a hope. No, don't believe them. You are not alone. Do not let your pain define who you are, because you are more than just your pain. Thank you all for listening. And now I would like to pass it on to Amanda to share her experience with us.
I'm not sure I can follow that, Alvin, but thank you very much. And I'm coming to you from Prince Edward Island, the unceded and traditional territory of the Mi'kmaq. And I had pain, and you said your dad said you were too young to have pain. I woke up when I was 4. I tried to get up, I fell down. I ended up in a wheelchair for 10 weeks in pain. I had infectious arthritis, and then I would have flares with joint issues through as I was growing, after pregnancies, many things. My dad always had pain, and when it was bad, I got to do chores. So pain was ever persistent in my life from early on. And then I had a car accident when I was a teen, and I was in chronic pain until my early 30s, and still have low-level chronic pain with various episodes of pain flares and such now. So my pain still was dismissed when I was young. But I did get some help, but I wonder if it wasn't so normalized that I might have pushed harder for myself and when my children were younger and having pain. I did learn lots of lessons, like pain did give me opportunities and changed the direction of my life, I think. Even as a young student in elementary school, when my classmates were doing something else that I couldn't participate in, I was sent to volunteer with a group 3 years younger than me, and I got to have my first volunteer experience. And I continued to do that through school, not necessarily when I was having a flare, but just as part and parcel of what I did and how I identify too. I still do a lot of volunteer work today. And I learned to be adaptable and looked at what I could do instead of focusing on what I couldn't do. I keep a running list of things that I want to do when I'm in a lot of pain, and I've learned to pace, but with 6 kids, sometimes I need to push through. The biggest challenge for me hasn't necessarily been my own pain, but watching my children as they navigate their pain. I wasn't prepared for it. It started early blood work. We talk about all of those things that young people go through, needles, ear infections, possibly, and other things, and just growing and teething and such. But it wasn't that was the problem. When my oldest was 4, they would wake in pain in the middle of the night, crying. We'd rush them to be seen, to be told it was constipation. It wasn't. Looking back now, we know it was abdominal migraine, and we know that some of their ear infections, some of them probably were ear infections, but even today when they're having a really bad flare, their ears hurt, and it's not infections. Puberty has been really challenging. Each of my kids in turn, and I should say, my 5 older children do have a genetic diagnosis that isn't supposed to impact them, but it does. And they develop migraine or other issues such as joint and muscular pain with seemingly no effective treatment at first. It took 5 years to kind of get things under control for my oldest initially. We had to slowly learn what worked. We became disconnected, as someone always had to be home. I would be doing research in the middle of the night, and I should tell you, it did change my trajectory. I ended up staying home with my children. I'd hoped to be in research. My background is in research. I have a PhD. I wanted to stay in research, and then I ended up being a stay-at-home mom. And actually, I've probably learned more as a stay-at-home mom than I did during my PhD. Actually, I know I have. But what helped me connect and do better is connecting with people, connecting with those online and Facebook. When we were navigating this, the people around us didn't understand, but reaching out online and having peers that knew, having parents that knew what it was like to be a parent, parenting children in pain and watching them as they go through pain, offering what worked for them, not giving medical advice, so to speak, but saying, this is what worked for my kid. Why don't you talk to your physician about it? Things I learned as we walked through the journey, and I apologize if I don't keep to time. I'm hoping to. You don't necessarily get taken seriously. I have a very jovial, dramatic second child who's a young adult now and who was always happy no matter what the pain. And I remember automatically because of that, because you're not supposed to have a face that's smiling and having fun when you have pain. It was labeled as psychological. My kids that were serious were taken a little bit more seriously. The education and the medical system seem to work against one another. Going to the medical system and we're finding the doctor says, okay, they're in pain, come back in 3 weeks if it's still an issue. School's like, you need to get them there when your kid can't function. Pain affects your whole family. It limits connections and activities. My plan to go to work, as I said, kept getting extended and then extended some more. And this is even after I became a stay-at-home mom. Last year, I worked a single shift because even though we thought we kind of figured things out, things changed. And my 14-year-old was home most of the year. He actually started the school year strong and then got sick and has been home again for another month. Our dates are running errands on Saturdays, and that's only been for the last 6 months. I still am learning to put on my oxygen mask first, especially when there are multiple family members struggling. I'm learning to care for myself better, practicing what I say to my kids. I really need to set the example for them. Find clinicians that will listen and consider you part of the team. Please realize that you are an expert in what you are going through, and clinicians are experts in what they know. You're co-builders in your care. My knowledge was dismissed. Even when I did the research, I shared the studies. It doesn't matter if you have an education or not. You are your expert in yourself. You should be co-building your plan. Know yourself, do a check-in. If you've been living with chronic pain for a while, you have learned so much about managing your pain. If something is different, push for help. You may never know, there may be something else that's going on. And when you think things have figured out, something changes. I do have a couple of slides, and I am going to try to share. So sorry about that. I'm sharing and accidentally. Can you hear me now? I'm sharing just 3 slides, and then I'm going to finish up because I'm overgoing. This is one thing that's kept me focused. It's the treatment pie. We kept getting told there's psychological, pharmacological, and physical treatments. And sometimes I find that when things are overwhelming to me, I have to sit down and look at this and see where I can help my children make a difference in their pain. And so I really encourage you to take a look at this. This isn't migraine, but there's things that you can do that may seem little, but can make a big difference. And some of them have for my kids. We use acupuncture, we use other things. Excuse me. Can you move to the next slide, please? The next thing I want to share with you are a couple of tools, the Guide to Chronic Pain in Students. And why is this? I have kids that have been kicked out of school for their pain because they couldn't attend, or when they could attend, they couldn't be there as much as they should have been. And so the chronic pain, Guide to Chronic Pain in Students that you can no longer see. Hopefully we can just post the link. Gave me something that I could give to the school. There was a pain plan that my children could use and share with their instructors or their teachers. And also the pediatric pain standard. And why do I share these? I share these because they're the things that I started to give feedback for pain. I had been dismissed. I had my children had been dismissed, but through me giving feedback and getting thanked for that feedback and it being incorporated, it showed me that I had something good to say. And you all have something that you can say, that you can share, that you can inform others about your pain. Next slide, please. We all know, where am I today? I have hope because of things like this, the first National Pediatric Pain Management Standard that I can give to the pediatricians I work with, that I can give to clinicians, that I can share. You know, pain matters. Apparently I'm ready to speak. I don't feel so ready today. I'm sorry for all the ums and ums. I'm still learning what I can. I'm educating and listening to others. I'm sharing research. I'm supporting multiple children as they navigate the adolescent and young adult years and learn to manage their own pain. I'm the coach. Sometimes that means I do a lot for them. Sometimes it means I do a little and it's just a nudge. And figuring out what needs to be done, especially based on the personality of the child, is a whole talk in itself. Supporting them and having fun, because yes, you can have fun. You can live a life with pain. helping them to see their strengths and the beauty around us, even amidst navigating the journey with pain. My hope is as they transition to adults, their pain will be managed or fully treated. My hope is that families, clinicians, and educators and researchers are taught about pain. My hope is that pain is taken seriously and treated promptly so the incidence of chronic pain in future generations shrinks. Thanks once again for inviting me to speak today.
Thank you, Amanda. And as we transition to Christine and Michael, I just would like to also remind folks to please post your questions in the Q&A, and we'll take up as many of those as we can. So over to you, Michael and Christine.
Try that.
Hello, can you hear? Hello?
Yes. Go ahead.
Okay, Simgiget, Sigamanak, Dans Kubu Wolstu, Milu Witlaksa. I said to all the chiefs, to all the chiefnesses, and all the precious little ones. And I said my name, he who dances in the clouds. We have a very short time here, so I'm going to just say words of gratitude. Thank you, great Creator, for guiding us, protecting us, keeping us safe, healing us, giving us comfort and joy, and ask you to help us remove all those blocks that are there in the way of us trying to do our work, so that you can come in and heal us in heart, soul, mind, body, and spirit, and guide us and protect us, keep our families safe, keep everybody in the panel safe, everybody who's witnessing this safe. And we ask Mother Earth to be protected and Father Sky to be protected. And we love and praise you all my relations. Christine's going to, and I'm going to go back and forth. She's just finished smudging everything. You always use water. It's a female aspect. We always make sure the grandfather sun is being lighted. I don't know if you see that or not. It's a candle. And in here we have the smudge bowl that we have working to protect everyone. And we use the Eagle fan for us to be brushed off and cleaned. And here I have cedar, which is their West Coast medicine. And I'm from the Gitxsan Nation, which is Northern British Columbia, Canada. And my name is Gitxsan. The name of my nation is Gitxsan. We have 33,000 per square kilometers. Thank you all for being here. As an elder told me before contact, chronic pain was a rarity. When the need for treatment for pain, etc., the first peoples turned to the traditional healing plant, animals and minerals also, ceremonies and energy therapies. There are 7 indigenous natural ways of healing: shaking, crying, laughing, sweating, vocalizing, talking, singing, yelling. All of these things make up who we are and what we're feeling and how we hurt. Kicking and hitting, all in ways not to hurt another's spirit. One example, hitting oneself with a branch of the stinging nettle. And what it does is it tells your body that there's an injury happening in a particular spot. Say my knee's hurting, I take that stinging nettle and I hit my skin with the stinging nettle, and it'll send all the energy and nutrients that area needs, especially if you have problems with arthritis. There are medicine people whose skills and ceremonies were sought for ailments. Christine?
My traditional name is Anika, which was gifted to me by a Nakatma elder from around Lytton, which I'm sure a lot of folks know that area because of the fire devastation. There are 4, behind us we have a medicine wheel, and each of those medicine wheels go through different stages of life. They also have different medicines. So if we look at, we always start in the east. If we look in the east, we have tobacco. We go to the south, we have sage. And there's several types of sage. This is one from California. And we break it into our, quite often we break it into our smudge bowl and we smudge with that, or we smudge with the cedar, which is actually from the north. I'm out of order. And we can also cleanse ourselves with branches of cedar. We don't even have to take it from the tree. And this is sweetgrass, which is in the west. And it does grow in the north. We were told that it doesn't, but it does. All of our medicines are traded. People have learned from First Nations people. We had our own medicines, and one of the medicines that people know about is aspirin. The active ingredient is from the willow bark of many willows, including the pussy willow. We use blackberry tea for dysentery, cholera, upset stomach. All of these things cause our body pain. Teas, such as pine tree tea, helps to relieve the cough. And many commercial cough syrups contain this. Bear grease. It's a very pricey commodity now, because many of us do not believe in killing our relative, the bear. And a lot of people use bear grease, especially for skin conditions, like eczema. It's very good at helping with the pain of eczema, as well as it clears up flare-ups. Devil's Club is used in many ways. You have to dig the root to get some of the nutrients. But again, it's used quite well. Mushroom tea. I personally had broken this little bone. I soaked my hand every day in the mushroom tea made from dried mushrooms, and it healed. Contact. When First Nations people had our visitors show up and they began to settle, we saw the onset of new drugs, new diseases and chronic pain. These quadrants also show us what part of our body, our spirit, our emotional or mental, that each one of these quadrants responds to that, and they all need to be in balance to be pain-free. So if we look at the physical pain of diseases, and some of the diseases that were introduced to us are TB, mumps, chickenpox, smallpox, polio, diphtheria, pneumonia, typhoid. Even the common cold and flu was not part of our way of life. And through that, we know many Indigenous people died of those diseases. For me, my grandfather, he was born with smallpox. And somehow his mother knew to keep him in a bath of buttermilk. And when he died at the age of 97, he only had one small pock up in his head that actually bothered his body, and he survived that. So Indigenous people no longer were able to live their traditional lifestyle. They had prevented from moving around for hunting, trading, summer and winter camps. They were unable to manage the forest, such as doing the small burns to prevent major forest fires. Indigenous people were forced to live in reserves, prevented from practicing ceremonies, spirituality, living as families, children forced to attend residential schools, day school, adopted families, foster care, 60 Scoop, et cetera, et cetera. And then I'll leave you to go to the next part.
Physical pain of these beatings that due to skin color, traditional foods, different belief systems, and different languages. So there was many pains that happened to our children, and the babies were even taken. Many people were subjected to the beatings. Various types of sexual abuse, unwanted touching to forward intercourse with items or body parts and members. Often it was repetitive, not believed, isolated, or ashamed. Often suppressed, which lead to the affecting of other quadrants, emotional, mental, and spiritual. Now, just we'll talk about that real quickly on the spiritual aspect. We were born, we come from heaven, and we joined with our mother through the womb, and that's when we became a spiritual being and a human being. And when we're doing our work, often we're doing work with our human being part of it. That's where we feel the pain. That's where we feel all the things that are going on in our bodies. And now it goes into our mind as well. So it's really important that we acknowledge spiritual pain, and that I know for myself, I was living down south in Vancouver, British Columbia, and I was a captain on a tugboat. I was always on Mother Earth water, salt water. That really helped me heal. So what happened towards the end of my career, or 50 years as a captain on the tugs, I started having a lot more pain, and it was debilitating in so many ways. And finally I retired. And what happened then is I started to heal from being in my own territory, being able and different things are
Culture.
my culture came into it as well. So culture and spirituality all came together, and that's why we decided on our presentation here to share it, that we need to talk about that part of it, because often when we're talking about pain, we're not talking about the spiritual aspect that bothers people. But often when our children and people, they were not believed, and they're isolated and ashamed, and often suppressed, which led to the affecting of the other quadrants, the emotional, mental, and spiritual, a source of intergenerational trauma. So what happens when for me, when I was born, there was a lot of pain in me from my parents, my grandparents, and beyond. And so for 150 years, we had our people taken away from our proper land, our water, and working with the animals and that kind of thing. And it really works hard on our body. And our people, you hear about the First Nations in Canada, often you hear that they're drunks and drugs peoples and all that kind of thing. It's really not quite that like that. What it is, our people are suffering, and they end up using whatever they can to try and keep that pain level down. And the only way that's going to happen is we start doing our traditional and cultural medicines. And that's why we're sharing this with you today. So it may be present in future stages of our life. I'm going to stop right here, and I'm going to turn to Christine, because I know our time is really short here.
We want to move from there to what we're doing now as a people, because we're needing to rebuild. And when we look at how many people that now have cancer, domestic violence, breaking the law, the increased alcoholism, suicide rates, and now we're encompassed in the dangerous drugs. I'm going to skip this part here. Now what we need to be doing is asking the question, what is the root of our pain? Which of these quadrants is out of the balance? What's causing our behavior, such as breaking the law, such as beating an intimate partner? One of the things that happens, people have accidents, whether it's a simple fall or it's a vehicle accident. one of the things we need to do is go to that site and pick and call for our spirit to be reconnected to our physical being. We call our name, and ask for our spirit. We do it for 4 times. And if that's not possible, sometimes we need to go to a medicine person to perform a ceremony of calling back that spirit.
Well, I'll just interject here. So what we're doing is our spirit is in our body and we go through something traumatic, whether it's a car accident or someone who touches us or hurts us, and our spirit actually leaves our body. Having said that, there is a thread that happens from our spiritual part and it goes to this our spirit. So we're not actually completely gone from our body, because if the body and the spirit is separated, the body dies right then. So
yeah, we have 2 more small areas. One thing I wanted to also touch on is the mental pain. Quite often we are in pain mentally or spiritually or even emotionally, but the mental pain with the mental health issues right now, the phrase sticks and stones may break my bones, but names will never hurt me. I call foul on that. I would rather somebody beat me and I could heal from that. The emotional and mental pain that I got because from those names would replay in my head over and over again. And I've learned through therapy that I can reprogram my own self-talk to ease that pain. And these are often, when we look at anxiety, oppression, trauma, fear, and non-belief, that's where we need to look at those quadrants closer.
well, I was going to step in here because we're out of time. Remediation of our medicine wheel. The ceremonies we're talking about is a water ceremony, fire ceremony, singing, music, carving, gathering medicine, wearing protection items.
The cedar around my neck. Full moon ceremonies by putting a jar of water near the full moon and drinking that water for the rest of the month. Huge benefits. Drumming, smudging, lighting of candles, sacred pipe ceremony, creating a sacred bundle. You probably can't see it here, but I've got sacred items here. It's not that they're sacred, as we use them in a sacred way. And then there are simple things of letting go, where we can take a rock and put our intentions on it and throw it into a pond of water or body of water. Digging a hole, putting tobacco in it, putting our anger, our hurt into the ground and covering it up with more tobacco, and then covering it up and giving it away to Creator to help us heal our body, mind, spirit, soul, and heart. In closing, one of the things I forgot to acknowledge is today is National Aboriginal Veterans Day, and
In Canada.
and I hold my hands up to all of those Indigenous veterans that gave their life for our country, and their ancestors that are walking now, and honoring them today in a good way.
Well, we thank you for including us. We thank you for hearing us. We look forward to the rest of the words. We love and praise you through Creator, all my relations.
Yeah.
Wow, thank you, each one of our panelists today. Thank you, Christine and Michael. Thank you, Amanda. Thank you, Alvin, for starting us off. We do have a number of questions in our Q&A that we'll certainly address now, and we have some time to do that. And I just want to thank each and every one of you for sharing your powerful lived experience. Each one of you bringing so many resources and ideas and thoughts and approaches to how you manage your health and the pain that you've been living with. Thank you for that. So if I could just go for the questions here, give me one moment while I pull them up here, please, and I'll direct them to you. So we have a comment that, a question around resources because they've come up a few times. What can someone do? What can a guy do when you can't afford to go back to school? And I've been in trades for 13 years, but chronic lower back pain has got so bad I can't force myself through a day anymore. Hard to find companies that are willing to accept that. I just want to work and provide for my family. Are there any comments from our panel on that or any suggested resources?
I can relate not so much to the pain, but navigating my children's pain. I do have, I do try to find resources. I have gone to like career development counselors. I don't know if there's any in your area. I'm in the Atlantic region, so there's actually a free program that's enrolling right now for cybersecurity and data analytics that actually does career counseling. It's a 20-week program actually that the government pays for, and it will connect you to opportunities. So one of the things I would say is figure out what you would like to do. As Alvin has said, it's an opportunity to change your path and go somewhere. I don't know where you're at right now. I actually keep a collection of resources or things that I might like to train in so that when I do get an opportunity to go back to something full-time, I can. Because maybe like you, the month is bigger than the budget at this point, and it would really be great if I could go back to work, and I just can't at this point. Yes, and I'll put the link for that if you're in the Atlantic, but it's done through a national initiative. So my thing is there are some initiatives that you don't know about. I would ask online. I would go to a career counselor. You probably, and then ask them if they know of anything. And really examine what you want to do. If you have lower back pain, even sitting in a chair all day may not be the thing for you. It may be something that you need to move, but you don't want to be lifting. I don't know what your preferences are, but examine yourself, figure out what would fit for what you need, and then see if you can get connected to some of the resources to do it for free. And also there's lots of online courses that you can do for free and explore. There's MOOCs, they're called MOOCs, massive online open courses. Go and explore some of the skills that you think you might want to do, and you can say, no, that's not for me. And then you don't invest a lot into doing that.
There's a duty to accommodate for employers, so that if you have like you presented a pain management. So if you have a pain management program for yourself, you can share that with your employer, and they have by law a duty to accommodate that.
I know Amanda and Christine have spoken so well, and I'm sorry I cannot give you something that would work for you, but I can share what works for me. And I remember I was also struggling with these things. Oh, I need to work, I need to go to school, I'm too young. I have family back home that I support financially. The weight was so heavy on me, but this one friend said something. She said, Alvin, take care of yourself first. You have to come to a place where you understand your pain and you manage it well enough to know what you are able to and not able to do. Do not put yourself under any pressure to feel like you're on a race with someone. Go at your own pace. Yes, it's hard because bills are never going away, but you have to take care of yourself first, because without that, you're not able to get the work done. You're not able to do anything else.
Terrific advice from each one of you. Thank you so much. Our next question is, I loved the topic of traditional medicines and treatments, crying, laughing, hitting, etc. It's unfortunate that these are not considered and are often dismissed as dangerous simply because they have not received research they deserve. Do you know of any research happening to help give clinicians more confidence in trying these methods? Do the panelists have any comment on that? Michael, we need to, there we go.
Yes, we're trying to unmute here. So with regards to teachings, and I want to go back to Amanda and to Alvin here, that there are so many classes out there online that you can learn about culture and spirituality and healing methods, especially if you're looking at Aboriginal methods. I think pretty much from my background, when I started looking at all the plant medicines, there's always a plant there to work with you. There's always a plant there working with you. So if you can find your people who know how to reach out to the different plants, you'd be surprised at how many plants are around that people see. For example, the plant that's on the driveway, if we got away from the tarmac, there's plantain is one of those plants that will grow just about anywhere. And it's a medicine. And if your child is running around or you're running around with your bare feet and you happen to get stung by a wasp or a bee, you take a piece of that plant, put it in your mouth, saliva, mix it up a little bit, and then take it and then put it right onto the sore. And my grandson was playing around here. He got bit really hard on the base of his foot. And within 20 minutes, pain was gone. He forgot about the pain. He's running around being helpful. So there are a lot of programs out there for you to learn about plant medicine. And I know that you have to go to school. To a lot of places, you need to have that piece of paper that says that you've gone to school. That's not always the case. You can learn how to do it by being involved in the community. And so if you want to be more involved with that kind of thing, we would be more than happy to share with you when we're finished the program.
Yeah, and the other thing I want to share is that research in a traditional way for First Nations people is we talk with an elder. They are our knowledge keepers. And in the colonial way, we like to go research, document, and write it down and put it in published. That's okay. But I also want to offer the elders not to be exploited. And when you ask an elder or a knowledge keeper, a traditional, you bring them a gift. It can be a piece of cedar, or it can be a gas card. If you know that they don't have lots of funds, either one, you're offering it as a gift for their knowledge, because they're giving back something. And I like to look at the elders that they have, the active elders, I should say, they hold post PhD levels of education on my religion.
If I could share
Absolutely. Oh.
briefly on this, I'm a healer. And sometimes people are teasing me, healers have to heal themselves. Well, we do that through Creator, we do that through Spirit, and we do it with the plants and the medicines and the water. It's really important to drink a lot of water. Everybody should be drinking a lot of water. And too often now, especially the children and people you see on TV, online, everybody's drinking all these fancy drinks, and the one that you want is water.
Natural.
Yeah. So when I'm working on someone, I'm connected with Spirit, and our spirits work together when we're working on our body. So when I go in there and feel something that's in there, it's hurting, and we remove that part and throw it away. And it's not me personally, it's Spirit working through me. And we try to teach the people who are going through the healing the good things to do to their body, heart, soul, mind, body, and spirit. And it's really important to protect yourself. That was already shared today, but protect yourself from the negativity that's happening out in the world. The negativity of things you see on the screens, the things they see people doing to each other on a matter of course of going to the grocery store and standing in line and someone's talking in not a good way or whatever. These kinds of things are taking energy away from you. They're hurting your spirit, they're hurting your heart. And so there's ways of learning how to manage your pain through prayer. And I'm not talking about any particular denomination or anything. I'm talking about you, Spirit, speaking to your own spirit, you speaking to Spirit, and doing your work.
Thank you,
I hope
Michael.
that helps.
And Amanda, thank you. And Amanda, you had an additional comment?
I do, and it's not specific to traditional medicines, but anything that the clinician that's dealing with, I'm just asking for listening. And if you know that something will not harm, don't dismiss it as a possibility. We had an opportunity with my oldest, and we met with a pain team, and we had figured out a supplement that worked. And I'm a PhD biochemist. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what education I had. We found something that was working, and the pain doctor said, I don't think the biochemistry has anything to do with it. My child took that as, I can stop it. 3 weeks later, they were chronic again. And they did that a couple of times as they were growing up. And now it's standard of care for them. Their internist agrees with it and everything, but it was dismissed. And all they had to say was, I don't really know about that. That's not my expertise. Maybe check in with a pharmacist to make sure it's not going to interfere with anything else. So if somebody says this is working, listen, you may actually get to learn some knowledge that will help somebody else in your practice too.
Thank you so much, each of you, for your contributions. One last question before we wrap up. We have so far, and if there's another one that comes in, we'll see if we have time to take it. The spiritual connection and healing was really powerful for me, calling back your spirit at the location of trauma. How can non-Indigenous peoples access this kind of healing?
These ways of healings are free for anyone that chooses to use them. So I've seen it with non-Indigenous people that just don't feel right. They've taken a major fall walking down the street for no apparent reason. And in talking with myself, encourage them to go back and pick themselves up, or pick up their spirit again. Michael went to a scene of an accident. The motorcyclist was killed. He went there with his wing,
With the bundle.
with his bundle and his wing, and he's cleared that whole area. We all can do that. If we witness a tragedy, somebody dying at a site, we can also give prayers. We're driving down the highway. We can say we see an animal on the side of the road that's deceased. We can pray for that animal's spirit because we're all interconnected. We can actually take some medicine and throw it out the window as we go by with our prayers. They're strong prayers. So we share our spirituality with those that would like it. And it is in realistically, it is in everybody's religion one way or another.
It's not religion, it's spirituality. I think it's really important to say that we're not promoting any religion. We're just talking about spirituality. I just want to quickly talk about this corner that she talked about. I've done many things like this with Creator and Spirit, but this was a major accident. It was a major intersection, and it was an intersection that had been for the last few years involved in many accidents. And we moved into the corner suite of this age place we're living in. Anyways, there was a big crash. And so I walked out to where the crash was. And by the time I got out there, the police were there. They had the place taped off. And so I walked over and I got attention of police officers. And I would like to talk to whoever's looking after managing the scene. And so this police officer came over and I explained who I was, that I was a healer. I did traditional medicine. And I said, when you're finished here, before you take down the tape, can you let me go in and clean this area where the accident happened? And then he said, yeah, we can do that. So I gave my phone number, and it took them a few hours to do their work. And then finally the phone call came. And so I took my bundle. A bundle is where all my medicines are in. And you can have your own bundle. And if you ever wanted to know how to create a bundle, we're willing to share that. So anyways, I took my bundle. I brought my smudge bowl. I brought the wing and the medicines. And I walked around inside the circle, praying and smudging the area. And the motorcyclist, he hit the car, broke his neck, immediately died right on the spot. And I seen his body. I cleaned where he was, and we did this work. And then once I got inside all done, I went outside the tape and I cleaned the whole area off. And then all this is done with prayer and through Creator and being humble. And then after that, there were no more accidents. So over a year later, there was one accident from a friend of ours. They had a little bumper hit, just a gentle one. And that was because Spirit came in and did that work. So it's really important that we acknowledge our own spirit, know that each person has their own spirit, and that another spirit walks with you. And that spirit that walks with you is that the one that talks to you as a female about your female aspect, talking about when you have that feeling in your tummy, that's their spirit talking to your spirit guide. And you get to know your spirit guide. I know whether it's male or female, I know where they're from. I can talk. When you talk to your spirit, you talk in a way that I'm going to go buy a car, for example. Should I have a red one or a blue one? And that's ambiguous because there's only one question, one answer each time. So I'm using
all
a,
the time.
Thank
Go
you.
ahead.
Okay, we need to go back to Jennifer.
Yeah, oh, well, thank you so much. And thanks to each one of you for this incredible panel presentation today. And just in closing, before I hand it to Chris, thank you, Alvin, Amanda, Christine, and Michael for sharing your deep wisdom in medicine. And that is from Jenny Lorca. Over to you, Chris.
Thanks, Jennifer. And yeah, thanks so much to Alvin, Amanda, Christine, and Michael for your courage and willingness to share your personal stories and the knowledge you've gained through your lives and your experience of pain. I found it incredibly moving, and I'm sure everybody did.